So you should feel pretty comfortable searching for and installing packages to try out and use in your development. And I encourage you to do so. I think especially for someone new to learning to code, there's always this misconception that you need to know everything. Everything needs to be created from scratch. You have to just know how everything works. Well, I don't think really anything works like that in the world, especially in engineering. Like, we all piggyback off of previous knowledge and people that have come before us, or even that are just better than us at something specific. So you don't have to recreate the wheel every time, and you should be leveraging the community by pulling it down and trying it, but also giving back and creating when you do find something that's useful for yourself. You know, you might not understand, or you might not know who else it could be useful for. And you know, I really encourage you to try both of those things. So use NPM, it's amazing. Don't try to do everything from scratch because someone probably already solved it. Just install it. The next thing I wanted to talk about was CLIs, or command line interfaces. So we've been using CLIs pretty much this whole time. NPM is a CLI. Node is a CLI. Pretty much any program whose interface is on a command prompt, like a terminal or wherever you might be writing this code, that's a command line interface. It's just a fancy name for an app that runs in the terminal, and you interact with it through like a command and some text and prompts and different things like that. I would say that there's no visual representation or visual interaction with the CLI, but like these days people create like some crazy stuff with CLIs. I've literally seen like someone render like a 3D floating donut in a terminal with a CLI. So it's like, I feel like I can't even say that anymore. But for the most part, there is no like, you know, UI here for a CLI. You're just interacting with the box. So we are going to create a CLI. So if you've never created a CLI before, you're going to have fun doing this. I promise you. I try to make this one pretty fun and relatable and usable. So I'm going to walk you through how to do that so you can get your own little custom command inside of the terminal. And you can see how Node makes that easy compared to a lot of, well, you know, I wouldn't say that it's easier than everything else. Like pretty much every language is pretty easy to create a CLI. I know Dino makes it super easy to create a CLI. That's one of the biggest features I like about that. But Node.js is no slouch either. So we're going to figure out how to do that just now. So the only difference between a CLI and like a typical Node.js app is you just need to add a little bit more information to be able to have it consumed in the correct way when someone installs it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a CLI that interacts with Reddit. I want the CLI to be able to go to Reddit and open up a random Reddit post that's on the front page. It'll open it up in the browser for us. All we have to do is just run the CLI, and we shouldn't, you know, have to worry about what's going to happen. Like, if you like Reddit, you'll probably like this. If not, welcome to Reddit. So let's do that. So the first thing we're going to do is let's create a folder in our little app here. So I'm going to make a new folder, not here, but here. And I'm just going to call it Reddit CLI. And then because it is a package, we need this to be a package for many reasons. One, that we're going to be installing other packages, and two, we're probably going to eventually, you know, have other people consume this CLI as a package for their own. So we needed a package for both ways. So we're going to change directories into that, and we're going to run npm init. And I'm just going to hit enter on everything, get the defaults. Good to go. You can also skip that if you do npm init, and I think you do -- yes or -- y or something like that. It'll do the same thing. It'll just skip all of it. So we got that. We got our package JSON here. I'm gonna add a get ignore because it's just a habit at this point. Node modules, and there's a bunch of other stuff you should be adding here, but we'll just do node modules because that's the important one. I don't want that being tracked, slowing down my computer and my terminal and all that stuff. So we'll do that and put that in there. And then what we're going to do is we need to figure out what dependencies we need to install. But before we do that, we just want to get the CLI set up. Before we even do the logic of interacting with Reddit, let's just see if we can get a CLI to work. So the first thing we have to do is we need to just figure out, we need to create a file where the entry point to our CLI is. What's the file? What's the entry module? What's going to be executed when someone runs this command line? So we got to tell Node npm where that is. And then we have to make sure that it's executed in the correct interpreter. So in this case, the interpreter will be Node. We don't want this file being executed against Python or Ruby or Java. We want it to be executed against Node. And because we don't know how you're going to install this on your machine, we need to make sure that we're explicit about that instruction that, hey, this needs to be installed in Node. So we're going to use something called a hashbang that's going to sit at the top of the file. It looks just like this. And this is going to tell your computer, your OS, like, hey, this file, this command needs to be executed against the Node interpreter. And here is the path that it's usually installed into. So it's the location to the node on someone's computer, and it's going to try to execute it against that. So the only reason this wouldn't work is if this person didn't have Node in this section. If you use MVM, MVM actually puts it here for you. It creates like a symlink, so you're good. If you use the native installer, that's exactly where it goes, so you're definitely good. So we're going to do just that. So we're going to make a new file here. I'm just going to call it Reddit MJS. So, and I'm going to add that hashbang like this. I'm going to copy it. Don't forget the hashtag. I don't know why didn't it copy that hashtag, or I guess I didn't copy it. There we go. And if you did it correctly, you'll see it kind of looks like a comment because it's not really code, right? This to show you that this is actually a comment. If I were to execute this node Reddit MJS, nothing happens. I don't see anything breaking or anything like that. Whereas if I just get rid of that, you can see that it's obviously going to break because that's not valid JavaScript. It thinks it's like a regex or something. So this gets treated like a comment. Like Node is very much aware of this. This is not like a hack. This is a real thing. So now that we have that, I'm just going to do a console log. So I'm just going to get the hello world going. Hello from Reddit. CLI. So we got that. So we're almost there. Right now, we could execute this in the Node runtime and it works. But the whole point is that I want to be able to come in here and say Reddit and hit enter. I don't want to type in Node Reddit. Like, that's not a CLI. That's gross. I want a nice CLI. So we could do that. We can go to our package, JSON, and then we can add a new field here called bin. A bin on an OS is basically, in fact, we can just look back here. You notice that the Node interpreter is installed in some folder called bin. You can think of bin as like the folder where all your CLIs get installed. All your global commands, they get installed in a bin folder. So we need to register a new command in the bin folder. And we can instruct NPM to do that for us when someone installs our Reddit CLI by putting something in the package.json. And that's going to be on the bin field. So if we go to bin, we put an object here, not like that, but like this. And then it's just going to be key, which is the name of the CLI that you want. In this case, we want to be able to run a command called Reddit. So we'll put Reddit here. And then the path to the entry file to it. So in this case, the entry file would be reddit.mjs. So like that, we'll put that there. So in this case, because this is a CLI and it's not meant to be, this application is not meant to be consumed by like an import. You know, I wouldn't expect you to npm install my CLI and then import it into your app, unless I explicitly said like, hey, you can also use this CLI programmatically by importing it. Most of the time, that's just extra work for a developer, so they don't always do that. So it's usually just only consumed by a CLI. So in that case, this main field probably just gets ignored, right? This main field is only for when someone's importing or requiring your application, whereas in this case, it's a CLI and we don't plan on having programmatic access. So this is, you can think of this as like the main field when it comes to the CLI and not this. So you can kind of ignore that. So I just want to clear that up. So now we have the bin here. And then the last thing we need to do is we need to install our own CLI on our computer. And no, we don't have to like publish it to the NPM registry and then install it back down. That would just be ridiculous. Although sometimes I've had to do that for like conflict and version reasonings, and it's just really, really bad. But we can actually just do npm install -g. As long as we're inside of the directory of this package, by putting no arguments at the -g, it's going to install the package that you're in globally. It's going to install that globally. And during this installation process is when npm is going to see that bin field and register that command for us that points to that file. So let's give it a try. So looks like I already did this earlier, so I'm gonna try to uninstall this, or let me see. Let me just delete this actually. I'm remove -rf that, and I'm gonna try to do it again. Okay, cool. So looks like I installed it. Everything looks good. It's in my, because I'm using MVM, it's going to create like a symlink, and all that stuff is good to go. So I was able to do it. If you're having trouble with global install locally, what you can do, because I've had this problem before, is if you delete all of your, or not delete, but if you uninstall npm uninstall -g, if you run that and just uninstall all your globals, then try to reinstall this one, it usually clears up a lot of errors. But I have run into some errors before, as you just saw, with installing globally with npm. So, and then like with Yarn, it doesn't happen sometimes. So I don't know. If you're having problems with npm, if you have Yarn, try that. If not, just uninstall all your global stuff with npm uninstall, if I can spell that right, uninstall -g, and uninstall all the stuff and then try again. So once we got that installed, we should be able to come in here and say like which, if I can spell, Reddit. And you can see I do have Reddit here confirmed, everything's good to go. So I should be able to type in Reddit, and you can see right there, hello from the Reddit CLI. And that's it. That's how you create a CLI. It's not a good CLI. I mean, it's not something I would ever use. It doesn't even have a help command. I mean, it just does the same thing over and over again. So I wouldn't say you could go raise funding just yet, but yeah, you got the gist of it. It's just 2 small lines of code. You add a bin, and then you add a hash bang to the top of your entry file, and then you're good to go. So you just got to be a little clever about how you name the CLIs. Like, you never know who else also has that CLI installed on their machine and how that resolves and different things like that. So you kind of got to be clever with the name. There's really no right way of getting it right.